Sunday. What's going on, everybody? What's up, Flobo? Episode 26. Sitting here chilling. It's a Sunday morning. Got up pretty early. Went for my run already. Hey, there's lint on my shoulder. I want to thank you so much for checking this episode out and other episodes on the What's Up Flobo show and my website, flobito.com. And the t-shirt site is flobito.threadless.com. Support the homie and buy a t-shirt. Today, though, I'm talking about two things. But first, my haircut. I finally got it done. See, I've been putting it off forever, and I was trying to do like the man in the woods, the bush thing, and it just wasn't working out. Like my hair's got to a certain level, and I was like, nah, we're cool. To even go back to this week, I was like, oh, this is not even working anymore. And I have a budding show maybe on AfterBuzz TV network. We did a first episode. It's called Flobotomy, where I do controversial wrestling opinions, and I recorded it and showed it to my parents, and my dad didn't care. But my mom was like, "Oh, what's up with your beard?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, if mom is saying it, well, you know it's good, so it's time." So yeah, keep it a little slim and trim and all that. It's all good. All right, but today I want to talk to you about political comedy, man. So let me take a little step back. Comedy to me has been pretty cool. It's kicking up right now, at least for me. After a relatively slow 2019, 2020 does seem pretty good. I have shows I'm excited to announce and all that. And my alma mater, my college, reached out to me and they want me to perform a show in March. So details are coming at that, but it was interesting. And I suggested that maybe we have a little bit of a workshop beforehand, so we get like a newbie or two to chance to learn about comedy, and so they can perform at that show the same night. So think about that. Like, how cool is that? You get the phone call saying, "Hey, look, we think you're marginally successful. Come over here and teach these kids." Or come here and perform. And then I kind of said, hey, let's teach these kids. One thing that I thought about, though, performing out of college is the use of political comedy. Now, if you guys know me, if you guys have listened to my stuff, I don't usually do it. I try to avoid political comedy en masse. I actually mentioned this on my album, American for Now available on Spotify and iTunes. That growing up, my mom was very, very liberal, and my dad was very, very conservative, and they kind of argued all the time. So I kind of avoided politics in total, but politics now, or political feelings or belief or stances on issues more specifically, is now ingrained in our culture. We are boycotting brands that do things we don't like, or we're supporting brands that do things we do like. And art form is definitely seeping into it. So it'd be kind of hard to avoid it wholesale. But a lot of newer comics, I know I had this question when I started, so I guess I'll share it with you, is, well, if I have an opinion about a political issue, should I do it as a comic? You know, should I say, hey, look, let's take something that's pretty innocuous. The Space Force, right? The Space Force was announced about last year. The logo was released about a week and a half from this recording, and there were some jokes on both sides of the aisle about the validity of the sixth military branch. There's people on one side that say, hey, look, we need it. We have cyber terrorists and satellites, and this is just the extension of the Air Force, and I don't understand what the big deal is. Why is everyone making fun of it? And there's the other side that says, well, what a waste of money. I can't believe we're doing a whole new branch. What's the point of it, right? So I'm picking an issue that there's discussions on both sides. So, like, there is the old me would have probably just avoided it. Whoa, military, I can't touch that. But there is ripe for jokes on both sides. And you can make jokes about, hey, we can't spend money on X, but we can spend money on the Space Force. Or you can make jokes of like, yeah, you're making fun of the Space Force now, but then when someone has a drone coming to your house, who are you going to call? Right? That's basically the two sides of it all. So you have a choice, especially as a newer comic. Do you want to comment on something like that and give your spin to it? Or do you just try to ignore it because it's like, well, I don't know. I'm a new comic, right? They always say when you first start out in comedy, you suck, which is true, but not true, right? I always interpreted it as, oh, everyone hates your jokes. The thing is, you can kill as a new comic. The problem older comics look down at new comics are about, they say, well, because you say things that are just pretty much on the surface. You're not going deep enough. And it's true. A lot of people, when they first started out, it's kind of like, oh, man, I'm so late for work. I'm super late for work. And it's like, okay. But now with politics, it's a little different because people now more than ever are holding on to their political beliefs, their values, what they love, almost as part of their identity. You really have to think long and hard about the kind of jokes you're going to make. Which sucks because the thing about any kind of art form is you create first and then censor second, right? But it looks like for comics, it can be easily be canceled if something is seen as inappropriate. You may be encouraged to edit in your head before writing. I don't suggest you do that. I'm always a fan of have your comedy books, keep them offline, right? Write things as provocative and as dark or as funny or as messed up as you think. And then, and only then, when you've written it down, you take away and say, okay, that's way too much. Okay, I would never say this. Okay, that is not appropriate. And that to me is the difference between other comics being, oh, you can't say anything nowadays. People are just too dang offended, to being cognizant of what's going on and what tastes are in society, right? You can have deep-rooted feelings on either side of the spectrum or a whole new opinion in itself. But if you don't really know how to make that work linguistically, then just ignore it. So back to our Space Force example. I would tell new comics, write down what you think it works and what doesn't work for the Space Force, right? As dark as you want, you do your self-edit only after writing all the jokes you came up with, then rehearse it a bunch of times. And now, more than other material, be open to feedback. One of the things about comedy and taking notes from the crowd, there is a little bit of a give and take there. Your crowd will let you know if something's working. They'll laugh or they won't, or they'll be offended. But as an artist, you have a choice of saying, that's the reaction I want, or let me go back and workshop. And for most material, since especially if it's material about you specifically as a person, you can say, okay, you don't get it, but this is true. People will get it. Like I have Caribbean American jokes, and when I tell jokes to the Midwest, they may not get it, but I know it's funny because it happened to me, and this same joke will kill in like Miami, New York, or LA. With political humor, that sensitivity has to be ratcheted all the way up. Right? Unless you're going to be specifically a political comedian, if you're throwing in politics jokes in your main routine, it could be the difference between riding a wave of awesomeness and laughter and cratering your entire show. And it isn't just one party that gets more upset. It isn't just one belief system that's more wrong than the other. Let's be real. Everyone's sensitive. Everyone feels you're attacking them if it's something to disagree with. So you got to be very, very important with that. I tend to avoid political humor only because it's not really my style. That's a stylistic choice. I like to talk about things that make me laugh, and politics does not make me laugh. But I don't want to, put fear in you to never try it. Because here's the thing that people won't tell you is that despite where you land on the right or left or center or north or south, making fun of politics, making fun of our politicians, making fun of our president, making fun of our global policies, making fun of how we approach things in lawmaking is woven into our American fabric. We're talking Mark Twain. We're talking Will Rogers. We're talking that Paul Harvey, the broadcaster that did Now You Know the Rest of the Story. Those things are part of American fabric. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's just that with social media nowadays, every dissenting opinion has a platform. And that is way important. Like there's certain things that I know that I feel that 10 years ago, if I felt that way, I knew I was in the minority, so I kept it to myself. But now I can find an unpopular opinion and find people with other opinions that match my own, and then we're already an online army. Let's take a non-political example. I am pro pineapple on pizza. I'm sorry. In fact, I would get pineapple on pizza when I would visit my friends in the Caribbean. So when this whole thing came out that pineapple should never go on pizza, I went online looking for Facebook groups that specifically were about having pineapple on pizza. And I knew I wasn't wrong because there's people out there that thought like me, and I found them with a single search. So you may think it's ridiculous that I can't believe the city of Los Angeles is spending $10,000 on paving the roads, but we have a homeless issue, for example, and someone can sit in your crowd and be like, excuse me, I broke my only vehicle's axle on a pothole. How dare you? And you got to find a way to circumvent that, right? So to conclusion and everything, it's okay to do political humor, especially as a new comic. But no, as a new comic, and I put myself in this category too. I've been doing comedy for about 5 years, so not 10, 15. We tend to do things at surface level. Is it funny? How? If you're willing to go a little bit deeper, I would say yes. But as a rule of thumb for new comics, it's best to avoid. if you have to go with, if you just have this burning desire to create things in a free environment that says exactly what you think and what you say 120%, and then cut back afterwards before you even go out and try it with other people. Write it down and say, hey, if I heard these people are stupid for believing in this, would I appreciate that? Probably not. Let me cut that out. Let me show with my humor why this political thing is silly, or why it's stupid, or why it's something that I think could be improved. And once you find a deft way to do that, then take it to open mics, or whatever your process is. I tend to write, rehearse at home, open mic, book, show, and then album. But that's, everyone has their own thing. If you have a different cycle, that's the whole thing. But yes, be free with your mind and what you want to write. Don't limit yourself until after. Limit yourself as far as verbiage, as far as name calling, as far as degrading people. And then when you go into your open mics, be a lot more open to tweak that kind of material. Last thing though, politics really is based on region, especially in the United States. If you're in Florida, they may appreciate things differently than Los Angeles, than in New York, than in Austin, Texas, than in Houston, Texas, than in East Houston, Texas. It can get to be, so if you're thinking about doing something nationally, it's always good to try that different material, different cities or locations or different test audiences. I live in Los Angeles, and I can tell you Hollywood has a different sensibility than Hermosa Beach, which has a different sensibility than Fullerton, California, in Orange County, which has a different sensibility than San Diego County in California. And those cities are no more than 2.5 hours apart, right? So understand you are a loaded weapon. You are a vessel for what people may think it's right or it's not, but still try it anyway. Because being that butterflies in your system, being that cutting edge is kind of part of the fun of comedy, doing things that people are thinking. But just realize that there are also feelings on the line as well. This episode was a lot longer than I thought it would be. Hopefully it's helpful for new comics. If you guys are interested in more comic tips, I'm willing to share. If you're like, man, go back to the happy stuff, that's cool too. Let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell a friend about the show. Flobito.com is a website. Flobito.threadless.com is a t-shirt site. So back to my example with American for Now. I did my political humor there. At the time, I was like, I did it. This is Flobito's interpretation of what political jokes are. I am good. And if you look at it now, it's pretty innocuous compared to most people out there. But I was happy with it. And since then, I ran for public office, and I came in last place. I talked about that in a past episode. So people were like, hey, man, would you do more political humor? And the answer is yes. But now I'm a lot more savvy about how to make it more my brand and make it, or my style of comedy, and still have it being entertaining. So it can have a positive result too. It can open you up to a way of appreciating things. One of my best life lessons is, as a writer, as a novelist, I really hated Westerns growing up. I hated TV Westerns, I hated Western books. And so I wrote one. I wrote 2 neo-Westerns. They're called High Desert Run and Pay the Vig. They're available now on Amazon. Only because of the challenge of trying something I didn't like or hated, you know? So if it's something with political humor, if it's something you want to try, you're not really sure, it always helps to try. You always will grow trying something else. Just be more aware that what you're saying could be potentially triggering to your audience. All right, now for real, I'm out. Let me know what you think about the show in the comments, this episode in the comments. You want more comedy stuff? You want more weight loss stuff? You want more me hanging out and chatting with you guys? Let me know. I'm here all week in my studio. Let's go Mets. I guess I'm rooting for the Chiefs this year because of the Mahomes connection, even though it's Kansas City, and Kansas City broke my heart in 2015 with the Mets World Series, so I'm torn. Okay, yeah, I'm out. Until next time, peace out.